And good day, everyone. It's really great to be here with all of you again, and welcome to the last episode of Talk to Your Meeting Daughters. With me today, I have Martin Duffy.
Good afternoon, all. Good to be here again. Nice to see you, Paul.
It's great to have you here again, Martin, and it's wonderful to see how consistent we were during this year with these episodes. It's really great to have you entertaining, co-hosting with me these amazing conversations. I'm thankful to you, Martin.
Yeah, it was just reflecting on them was really interesting. We got through an awful lot more than I expected at the beginning of the year. To be perfectly honest, I thought if we do 4 or 5 of these, but we actually did 10, which was and we had some really interesting conversations with people. Really interesting stuff.
Absolutely. I think that also impressed with the collection of facilitators and consultants that we have hosted
Yeah,
during these years, and the nuggets that were shared were tremendous.
yeah,
We have created a community website with Outspace, whose founder Ilke Makilo is one of the book co-authors also.
mhm.
And we have on the, let me share you the screen for you, a collection of participants, guest speakers that were here with us. That was really great. This is a couple of nuggets that we have here on the website, but let's recap from the beginning. We have with third edition, this was quite historical. Then we had Elise Keats and Pilar Orti. You remember this one on how productive is your online collaboration?
Yeah,
And just as we are speaking right now, we are facing these challenges of changing our recent events into Zoom or online events. Our challenges right now to try to struggle with the impositions from the COVID restrictions.
yeah.
And suddenly, Martin, this is the surprise when we decided to do this event that was supposed to be face to face. When we decided to do it Zoom, suddenly we had a great more number of participants registering.
Yes, yeah. No, I suppose that's not surprising, Paul, is it? That in the course of the various conversations that we had with our guests during the year, one of the consistent themes that came back was the diversity of inputs that you could get. And even if you look at the episodes that we ran ourselves, look at the diversity of the geography, the disciplines, the experience, the backgrounds of the people that we had our conversations with. And all of that became possible because we were using a platform that we couldn't have actually done what we did without this type of virtual platform. And a year and a half ago, it's not something that we would have considered doing.
Yeah.
So it's out of adversity, I guess, comes certain opportunities, and then those opportunities we can never say what way they're going to go, but I can certainly say that the conversations that we have that have been they've been very nicely curated on our house space working area that people can access. We can show people them there. They can access the recordings that we've made, and there's some really valuable insights and feedback from the participants in all of those different conversations that we had. But one of the things actually that I was reflecting on, Paul, and it was as we invited guests to come to each of our conversations, the consistent question that virtually everybody asked us was, what are the questions that you're going to ask us? So the only thing that we ever gave anybody was just the theme, just the topic that we wanted to talk about. And when we said to people, well, we weren't planning to give any questions because we don't know what the questions are until we start a conversation. And for me, that might just have been one of the biggest strengths of those conversations, because they then turned out to be just genuine conversations. We weren't trying to solve any particular world problem, but I think in every instance, some really interesting insights came out of the collaboration between the participants on the given day, and what each different person brought to the conversation, where over the 45 or 50 minutes, the conversation evolved in its own direction. And then I guess our job as hosts was to try to summarize it, and to try and extract the best lessons that we could. So again, at the end of each of the episodes, there's a short kind of 2 minute, minute and a half, 2 minute summary that I've tried to overlay. That wasn't done after the event. That was done as we were all sat there. And then we have a kind of a wrap up with each of our guests, where they just give a 1 minute, 1 minute 30 overview of their own to give their overall collective sense. So I think for our audience now to be able to have that archive to go back and look at the range of topics that we covered, the diversity of opinions that we got on board, and then the wealth of knowledge and experience that people very kindly shared with us. I think it's a fantastic resource to have accessible and available there online. I'm kind of very proud of the fact that we've managed to pull this together a little bit unexpectedly, to be honest.
Absolutely, Martin. And for the dear viewers that would like to experience the virtual space where you have all the collection of our episodes, please just share your names here in the chat on the social channels that you are probably watching us today, and we'll be happy to invite you. It's not open to the public space, unfortunately. It's by invitation only, but for LinkedIn members that are following us and are following these episodes, we'll be very, very pleased to invite you and having you experience the Our Space virtual space, where you have all this collection of wisdom shared there, that was shared during 2021.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And even the House Space platform itself, Paul, it's a fantastic tool for doing the type of work that we've done with just this body of work. But it's such a versatile and flexible piece of kit to do a much broader range of activities within organizations for hosting events, for hosting meetings, and interestingly for organizing and managing ongoing events. So we very often think of the workshop or the event as a single day or 2 days. But I think one of the beautiful things about House Space is it can allow something to continue on for a considerable period of time that allows much wider engagement, much wider interaction, and then it serves as an archive, as in the case of our own work here. It serves as a wonderful archive of the materials that a group of people can bring together.
Absolutely, and you can use it also for your internal workshops in a company. I'm thinking about the interactions with other digital tools for collaboration that organizations normally have. I was just exiting from another meeting just a few minutes ago with the Meeting Wizard. It's an incredible platform that we are not just discovering it, Martin, Dutch. Manufactured in the Netherlands by someone with already experienced 20 years of experience with using group decision support systems in organizations, right? And we are discussing precisely the fact that there's already so many different choices, like Monday, Trello, Slack, and all these platforms for people to collaborate. And in the end, how are we going to navigate on these digital collaboration jungles?
It's a little bit of that is a challenge, because I guess my experience of that challenge, and I've come across this with clients, where I'm working with a client over the next 2 days to do a remote workshop. We had originally planned it to be face-to-face. COVID intervened, got in the way, and we had to switch to, in this instance, we're going to switch on to Zoom. And then we're going to use some mind mapping software to capture stuff. We're going to use traditional Excel spreadsheets for other aspects. But it all reflects what the organization is actually comfortable with, and the technologies that they're comfortable with. I guess one of the challenges I think that we're going to face is that as different organizations use different platforms, then for us as facilitators, becoming adept or proficient with interacting with all of the different platforms, that becomes its own challenge. So it's not easy, but it is really interesting. That's for sure. To see, one, what's out there; two, the type capabilities that they all bring, and then three, the pace at which they are evolving and new features are emerging. And it looks like very soon we could all be having virtual meetings where you could literally be an avatar in a room, sat in your own front room, but be an avatar a bit like a holodeck on the Starship Enterprise. You know, going back to my own childhood, 35 or 40 or 50 years ago, you're kind of saying, crikey, what was science fiction is now nigh on becoming fact on a literally day-to-day basis. So.
Absolutely. And I recently wrote an article about the video collaboration landscape, and I'm seeing these immersive 3D platforms
Yeah.
emerging. So it's going to be exciting to see how the impact of 5G, for instance, is going to bring to meetings, because now you can put these Google glasses or
Yeah.
these 3D glasses, and you can suddenly be all together, like inspecting a plane, even though you're not close to that plane anymore, right?
Yeah.
So it's you want to bring the engineer. Oh, please have a look at here, and we will be all actually looking at the plane, thinking about plane maintenance, for instance, and without actually being close to that plane.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing.
But on that exact point, Paul, there was in episode 9 that we did, how do we blend our virtual and physical workspaces, and we had John Hovell, Simon Wilson, and Tamara Eberle. We spoke, and so some interesting points came out of that conversation about this exact area, and I suppose one of the overriding concerns that we discussed was the risk or the possibility that we could lose the human touch, that all of the technology and all of the capability, it's fantastic, but that at the end of it all, we have to accommodate the core basic human need. And I remember John, if I recall correctly, made one really, really telling point in our discussion. And he used the word liminal space. And the point that he made at the time was this concept that when we're all in the physical space, we all know what we're doing, what we're experiencing, what we're interacting with when we're not in the physical room. So in a normal workplace with normal meeting spaces, when we go out to the kitchenette to grab a coffee, or we go down to the reception to collect a letter or whatever, we all know the physical environment and the experiences that everybody's having. But John made the really telling point that when we're all in our virtual space, we don't know anything about the background environment that everybody is now working in and living in, and the pressures and the difficulties and the challenges that they're facing while they're interacting in our virtual environment. And I thought that was a really, really telling point, that as we progress further and further into virtual interactions, I think we'll have to become much more conscious of that, you know, as soon as somebody blanks the screen or switches off their camera, they might be going to attend to a sick child. They might be just answering a ring at the doorbell, as I did, Paul, just before we went live. You know, my dogs start going crazy when the doorbell goes. You don't face that kind of stuff at work or in the physical working space. So when you're in the virtual working space, these are just life things that happen. And I think making allowances for those on all sides will become its own challenge. So, you know, that was a really telling point, I think, that came out from our discussion in episode 9 with John, Simon, and Tamara.
Definitely. And I think Steve is back. Shall we bring him in
Oh yeah,
again?
absolutely. Yeah, if
Let's
we have our audio sorted out, brilliant.
Hey,
Yeah.
Steve.
Steve,
Hi. Audio is all my fault. So
None of it.
configuration on my machine and so on, just with swapping platforms and so on. But Martin, great to see you again. I heard.
Great to see you again, Steve. Yeah, thanks for
Yeah.
joining us.
Very interesting. I was reflecting just the other day, actually, during that kind of annual process of writing Christmas cards and sort of, just reaching out to customers and so on. During the last 2 years, one of the things that's happened virtually, entirely because of the situation you're describing about being out interrupted by kids and doorbells and so on in this virtual space we're in, how that has also helped break the ice in terms of the relationship with my clients. And I have some really close relationships now with a few clients who I've never met in person, who I feel really close with. One client organization, we've done 22 webinars, I think, over the last 18 months. And we're so tuned into the whole planning cycle, the preparation, the marketing, the organization and the facilitation online, that it really feels like a very close colleague that I'm working with and a bunch of people who are regular in touch because of the regularity of the webinars. And I absolutely take your point about the need to be cautious around how we create the environment where our participants can have the casual conversations, the the meeting and the coffee machine conversations, and the random conversations almost that happen that just trigger a new train of thought or an innovative overlap with different parts of the organization. We really need to work hard on how to do that. And we've been experimenting for the last 18 months, 2 years in building in opportunity for people to do that. Some have been really quite successful, others have fallen flat. So, we're still in that learning curve about how to build that back in.
I was just going to say there, Steve, I would guess that what works in one organization may not necessarily work in a different organization. Is that part of the findings that you've actually come out with?
Yeah, I think so. Of course, there's multi-factors around why things work and not. It's about the topic as well, the type of organization, the association, how they've worked previously, how they've individually and collectively adapted to the virtual world, whether they spend any time together, whether they socialize, I think, whether their culture has built back in some way of just having conversations that are not formal or on a time. So a couple of techniques that have worked well with organizations is that you open the channel 15 minutes 20 minutes before the start of the meeting. You invite people. I mean, I use an excuse. I call it a connection clinic. I invite people to join early just to fix any tech issues, which I didn't have the opportunity to do today, but would have done just to be absolutely sure that you're online and you've got the right settings and everything's working. That 20 minutes also then gives you the opportunity just to say hello and connect with other people. Another technique is to build into some of the longer events a break, an extended break, call it a 20-minute break, or if you're extending a session over lunch, have a 30-minute, 40-minute break. And I just throw up some breakout rooms, called lunchroom, coffee break, hobbies, pets or whatever.
The chat.
Yeah, exactly. And just have people drop into those. Non-mandatory, but what I find is that some groups are so into what they're talking about, pets, for example, and they're all sharing their pets. They've got lap dogs and cats and all sorts of things. You can't get them back into the main meeting. But a really lively conversation. Other rooms don't work because people join and then nobody else is there or whatever. And I think it also gives you just another reflection is about when people go to a face-to-face meeting, there are those people who are absolutely going there to, of course, they're interested in the topic of the conversation and the conference, but they're also going there to network, and they know that Martin Duffy is going to be there. So I'm going to say hello to Martin, and I'm going to, talk about a project with him. And I've got that in my mind when I go there. So I'm on the lookout for Martin and a quiet opportunity to have a one-to-one chat with him. Other people go to conferences and they're interested in the topics. They sit through the workshops, they see the presentations, they kind of join the breakouts, or they don't really interact. And they sit quietly on their own and they catch up on their email on their phone whilst the breaks and the networking opportunities are given in that physical space. So we're accommodating all sorts of needs and requirements and activities for people that emulate what we do in the face-to-face world. But we're also accommodating different types of people who will respond in different ways to the opportunity that they're being given to network actively, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just show you, out of curiosity, here an example from the last event that I facilitated with an incredible team in Manitoba, Collective Impact Network. And we have created on our space precisely what you are talking about, Steve, here.
Yeah.
We are creating these lunchtime chats where participants could join. And this is a feature from our space that has these widgets with that are video conferencing rooms. So you could, if you lunchtime chats for new projects, you can join here. If you want to talk about hobbies, you can join here. If you want to talk about travel, you can join here. Great. And this kind of tech support for what you're just saying is more and more available these days with platforms like Ourspace and others.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that opportunity is similar. You know, if you run workshop streams in face-to-face events, you have people who find that experience lacking in something because perhaps the conversation wasn't facilitated. It wasn't triggered. The ice wasn't broken quick enough for people to actually get into the topic. So a lot of the issues that we're having virtually, I think, are reflecting issues that we have in a face-to-face environment. So we're not, we're not going from perfection to the imperfect virtual world. We're going from an imperfect face-to-face world. And, some of us, like the three of us, have been working. I mean, I've been 35 years in trying to, be more effective and more efficient in face-to-face events using technology, using facilitation techniques and so on. So we're emulating an imperfect world in the virtual world. And, the delight for me in the last 2 years has been the opportunity to learn and experiment and be trusted by clients to try new things. And I salute those clients who are willing to do that. And I'm looking forward to what comes out, as it appears that we're still going to be in this world for the next 3 to 6 months at least, if not permanently.
How are you going to manage, Martin, this week? You're going to do Zoom as well?
Yeah, we're going to use Zoom because that's the platform that the client company is familiar with. So I'm quite happy to work with whatever platform they have. But Steve, I think you make a really valuable and a really interesting point, and that is that, and Paul and myself, we were touching on this a little bit earlier, where there's such a conglomerate of different platforms out there at this stage that for facilitators to try and stay on top of all of the technical details of all of the different options becomes technically just improbable, if not impossible. But I think it does then beg a level of forbearance, a level of indulgence a little bit, and a level of patience, both from our clients and equally from ourselves, to be willing to actually try stuff and discover it didn't work. And it's not because we didn't know or because we weren't trying. It's because, sometimes it just doesn't work. So for me, that is an interesting and an exciting development,
Yeah. Just two points on that. I think a client made an interesting point to me early in the kind of lockdown phase where they said, I don't know, we don't like to experiment. We want to innovate, but we're not prepared to experiment because it's psychologically, more likely to be. And the second thing, one of the things I did early on in the lockdown was to produce a map, a chart of the technology that was out there at the time, and it's been added to since. It's on my LinkedIn feed. And what I wanted to say is directly meet that, Martin, that, we are the experts. Trust us to understand the nature of the market and the technologies out there. We have dedicated our professional lives to learning about these things and getting to grips with them. And therefore will advise clients what the best and most appropriate technologies are. Please don't, same with accountants, you don't go out as a non-accountant and start experimenting with different accounting packages. You go to an expert and you ask and seek their advice about what's best to fit the requirements of a particular event. And I would encourage people out there who are organizing events who aren't professional event designers, please use an expert to recommend, the approach, any technologies you need and so on. But that's what we're here for, and that's what we've dedicated our time and energy to.
Absolutely, Steve. And with that, let me see if I can share here are you still seeing my screen?
Yeah.
Yes. So this is an interesting market overview that Steve has produced with the feedback with many colleagues, including myself. I remember, I think I pointed out to lacking of some items here, and little by little, Steve completed this amazing piece of information with a number of tools out there. So Zoom is one tool, but there are many, many others. And if you're a facilitator and you like to find your way in this, what I call the digital tools, collaboration tools jungle, please reach out to us, and we will be very, very pleased to help you in any way we can. Well, folks, I think that's all for now. We have 2 minutes to go. This was a very short transmission for the 2021 in review. So major thoughts for 2022, Steve and Martin. What do you forecast for next year?
Martin's frozen on my screen. Yeah, I think, I'm really hopeful that we managed to tackle COVID, and that I know there's been it's touched a lot of families. There's been many tragedies around it, but I think for us in our niche in the event design and delivery market, it's given us a tremendous opportunity, because working virtually has become a must-have rather than a nice-to-have. And I think those are the times when innovation and step change really happen. So I guess I'm looking forward to more of the same, the curve, the ability to experiment, the ability to learn more, and the opportunity to work with wider clients and really begin to think about the impact on climate change from not having people flying around the world all over the place for meetings and conferences and so on, and how we play a part in that to build this new future. And I think it starts here.
Fantastic. How about you, Martin?
Yeah, I think I lost a little bit of our stream there. My technical glitch. I'm not sure what was going on, but I think 2022 and into the future is going to be more and more interesting. I don't think we've seen the end of COVID. I hope it'll become ish like the flu, that we will see variants of it, but that they may become less virulent, maybe more transmissible, but hopefully less impactful on the health and well-being of our loved ones and colleagues and stuff. But whatever, I think one of the key points that came out of some of the conversations, quite a few of the conversations we had during 2021, Paul, was that COVID caused a switch. It caused a change. And Steve, I think the conversation that you joined us in, this was part of our key theme. And that I don't think there's going to be a switch back. But none of us can be certain what that future switch is actually going to ground out or bottom out at. So in that context, I think there's some interesting days ahead. I think there's some exciting days ahead. And I've no doubt there's going to be challenging days ahead. But on balance, I think, if we look at it positively, I think we can take an awful lot of benefits out of it if we can improve the world that we all live in for everybody's benefit into the future. So I'm optimistic, and the fact that I have my third grandchild just 3 weeks ago, that's a massive big present to bring us into 2022 with a big smile on our faces as well. So
Yeah,
Congratulations, Martin.
yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. And dear friends, sometimes I wonder if we didn't get this bad habit of thinking that the world is predictable, because in fact, for our ancestors, there was elements of predictability in the world, but it's also always very, very unpredictable. And learning to live with something that is not predictable, I think it really it causes a little bit of a stress on our minds, right? Learning to live with not knowing what's going to happen next month, and we are not sure what's going to happen next month, really. Okay, Martin and Steve, it was really great to have you here, and I wish you a very, very happy season as we're starting to entering this season, and hopefully we'll stay in touch. At least in my mind, I will have you all present during my Christmas days, and hopefully we'll meet again soon, early in January.
And Steve, lovely to see you again. Wasn't expecting to see you drop in, but it's lovely to have you in and catch up on the chat. Great stuff.
Yeah, great to see you guys. Have a really nice festive season and a bit of a relax and a recharge.
Super.
We all need it. Okay.
We all need that. We all
Thanks,
need
Steve.
that. I'll mark your words. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye.